Right. Okay. So just to remind everyone that this is a British parliamentary format debate. It is something not that common in Sri Lanka actually. In Sri Lanka, we normally have Asian parliamentary debates and world school format debates. So these are finalists. Qualified with the convert. Asian International School. College. And Muslim Ladies College. Right. Okay. Right. Since now all our speakers are here, if there are visitors coming, ask them to quickly come inside and sit down. We are about to start the debate, right? We are having the motion about the justice system, right? So basically, the motion talks about should we have different classes of prison cells, like good prison cells for minor offenders and like bad prison cells for like worse offenders, right? So it's a British parliamentary debate, which means the government side and the opposition side have been clustered as opening bench and closing bench, right? We have a 7 adjudicators panel. First, we have our 2 chief guests. We have Mrs. Shavante Durvila, right, who works at the Agriculture Department as a state counsel, who also happened to be a former debater. She used to captain the Hindu College debating team during her school days, right? And of course, we have Mr. Dinesh Gunasinghe. The 2 chief guests are husband and wife. Okay. Right, guys, this is couple goals. Look, achieve things together so you all can go as chief guests together, right? Right. Okay. We also have another adjudicator physically present, Mr. Abdul Aziz. He is the former debating captain of St. Peter's College. In fact, when I first started coaching St. Peter's College, he was the captain. Right, he will be adjudicating as well. Other than that, we have 4 adjudicators: Arpit, Harshita, and Raghav, who are Indian adjudicators. They are joining through Zoom, and of course, we have Yani Apwalachi, also a local adjudicator, joining through Zoom. Right, so we will be starting. I believe Gateway College goes as opening government. AIS, Asian International School, is going opening opposition, right? And Muslim Ladies College going closing government. Right, okay. Holy Family Convent is going opening opposition. And Asian International School going closing opposition. Right. Yes, also something noteworthy is that all our finalists are girls. Progressive. Yes. As men, they should be proud to see. Right. Okay. So we shall start the debate. The timer shall be shared here. Right. 7-minute speeches. Each speech shall have 7 minutes, and you have a cool-down time of 15 seconds. After the first minute and the 6th minute, you can't ask POIs. And there are no reply speeches, right? 8 constructive speeches. Right, okay, we can proceed. now the adjudicator is supposed to invite the speakers. I'll invite the first speaker. And all right, so now I invite the first speaker of the government side, the Prime Minister, to present the case. Here.
Check. My name is Magali, and my preferred gender pronouns are she and her. And please raise your hand if you want to ask any POIs. And I will be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Honorable adjudicators and panel, we see that the topic today, this house will create a prison system with different classes of cells and activities with different levels of different facilities for criminals serving punishments for different levels of crime. Honorable adjudicators, when we highlight the fact that in today's status quo, we see that most of the problems caused in prison are caused by simply the fact that they are not organized. And on our side of the house, we see that this organization will lead to a better and fair treatment of criminals on the side of people, of course, who have been criminalized for minor offenses. And our burden here is to prove to you that the unfair treatment of people with low levels of crime is simply ignored and ignored in their on-side opposition side of the house. And to define facilities, we define facilities in prisons as often mental health care and substance abuse treatment. Honorable adjudicators, we see that someone who has gone to prison because they were a drug trafficker would benefit from these kinds of treatment. We see that it would be easier for them to be treated if these prisons were organized into these different classes with different levels of serious crimes. We see that the different classes of cells on our side of the house would be located in different places and different floor levels. We see that this organization could benefit the prison. And by activities and by the activities of crime, we mean that on our side of the house, we define it as, for example, someone who had gone to prison due to a minor crime such as pickpocketing, they would not deserve to simply they would not deserve the severe treatment that the prison system would offer them. Instead, on our side of the house, we would argue that they should be offered menial tasks instead. They should be things like cleaning, things like those cleaning done in prisons. They should be taken, those tasks should be allocated to people with minor offenses. And we see that on the other spectrum, on the other paradigm, we see that things like treatments such as solitary confinement and severe treatments, they should be allocated to people like rapists, people who have gone to prison for murder and so on. We see that another solution that on our side of the house, on our side of the house is that people who are in need of counseling. We see that after someone after someone has served their sentence, we see that they would be benefited if the counseling, if an expert in psychology went and told them they are fit for society. We see that after they've served their life sentence, they should be allowed to do this. And before I move on to my construction, honorable adjudicators and petty crimes will always be committed by people. This is a prison. We are not talking about reducing the number of criminals here. We are talking about on our side of the house, we are talking about how people who have committed minor offenses should be given minor and lenient tasks, and they should not be offered, they should not be offered severe treatments. And we see that this here has minor relevance to the debate, as we are talking about reducing the level of crime. Instead, our burden, and instead our burden on our side of the house is to prove to you that the unfair treatment of people with low levels of crime is greater highlighted in their side of the house. And moving on to my constructives, the first constructive for you today is the safety of prisoners. The first constructive for you today is human rights for minor offenses, and our second constructive will be the safety of prisons. Honorable adjudicator, when we talk about human rights, we include prisoners as well. We are talking because prisoners are still people who deserve a fair treatment according to their level of crime. We would define the different levels of crime as it depends on the level of harm that they have inflicted on a victim. For example, someone who had murdered someone would be inflicting a greater response, whereas a pickpocket, let's say, a robber, they would be inflicting less harm. A murderer, a serial killer, a rapist, they would be inflicting greater harm on these people. That's why they, on our side of the house, on our paradigm, honorable adjudicators, you see that we have a greater sense of justice offered because we are offering these different classes and different cells and different activities for people, for criminals who have committed different levels of crime. You see that there are rapists in prison, and we would be offering them issues like severe treatments like solitary confinement and so on. The people who have inflicted a greater harm on the victim, they would be getting severe punishments. They would be getting punishments like solitary confinement and life sentences. We see that they would be offered these kinds of treatment, and we see that on our side of the house, honorable adjudicator, we have a greater sense of fairness offered because these people, a pickpocket and a rapist, should not be in the same cell. They should not be in the same. They should not be influenced. There is a problem of the impact they have on the victim. They have different levels of impact on the people, and therefore we see that according to that, the criminals should be allocated to different systems, to different activities. They should according to their crime, they should be going on to serve different sentences. And moving on to my second constructive, honorable adjudicators, we have the safety of prisons. In current status quo, one of the major problems that are offered to us by prisons is prison violence, prison assault, and trigger warning, this might be sensitive content for some people, prison rape, and so on. We see that the safety of prisons is compromised on their side of the house. We see that with our system where prisons are allocated at different levels and they are placed at different levels from each other, we see that these issues such as someone who had pickpocketed would not be deserved to be treated unfairly by other criminals. We see that we would be reducing prison violence, and we would be reducing prison escapes because us as side government, we can allocate a greater security level to these areas that have murderers, rapists. We can allocate a higher number of prison guards to these areas to ensure the safety of everyone. This is something that does not happen in current status quo, where we see prison rapes, prison escapes, and so on happening. And with that, I would like to end my speech.
My name is Shilpa Shafraz from Holy College, Bangladesh, and my previous pronouns are Shilpa. I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, understand that whatever day we are debating on prisons or victims or criminals, we are always, as the government, it is your responsibility to work towards reducing crime rate, reducing the number of criminals and victims in society. Seeing how we have established that fact, all side propositions contrary about how they're talking about how they were talking about minor offences and major crimes and how they should be separated and that is better for each of these prisoners. We tell you that on our side we have come up with a counterfactual and that we plan on increasing security in status quo with a stronger check and balance system of security and like increasing like the punishments or whatever that do exist in status quo for depending on like major and minor criminals. Firstly, a few points of contextualization. Understand that we are talking about two different types of criminals, major criminals and minor criminals. Under major criminals, we will categorize people like pickpockets or thefts or whatever. Under major criminals, we talk about assaulters or molesters or rapists or murderers, serial killers, all these people. We tell you that each of these people have like a different set of mentality. We're talking about major criminals. You're saying that okay, these are like psychopaths you're talking about. If we go with side proposition, you are putting a bunch of psychopaths together, and their mentality is going to be all the same, working towards the same thing, which I will elaborate further throughout the course of my arguments. Coming to a few points of rebuttal, which is firstly. Side proposition tells us that minor offences should have punishments like cleaning. We ask you where is the deterrence? What's the purpose of going to prison? What's the purpose of sending criminals to prison? To in fact cause a deterrence in society to reduce the amount of crime. We tell you that things like cleaning and all is not what deterrence is about, but the fact that going to jail itself is like such a harsh stance or harsh place to go to. That is why deterrence in fact exists in society. We tell you that when you separate these classes, that this is not going to exist. Secondly, my second point of rebuttal, where side proposition straight up here came up and said that we are not talking about reducing crime. We, like I said before, any decision regarding prisons should be to reduce crime, and that as the government, they are not fulfilling their roles. Thirdly, they came up and said major crimes should go through things like solitary confinement. Yes, we agree, but that is status quo and side. What we are saying is that these two classes of criminals should engage together for various benefits which I will explain throughout the course of my arguments. Firstly, coming to my first argument about deterrence and theoretical refuge. Under major crimes, we tell you that now what you're doing is you're going to group like a rapist or a murderer or a serial killer together in one group. We tell you, okay, now what happens when this is done? Firstly, we tell you things like prison camps and all that will be far more stronger, far more psychopathic, and far more crime-oriented. Simply because of like fact that there are people who have done major crimes together. We tell you there's going to be a medication system there in like prison. The guards are not going to be able to control things. These people are going to have like other major criminals who are growing in society inevitably to be doing things for them. They are going to be plotting further crimes, and we tell you they're going to have more connections to have more corruption in prison where they can bring drugs or whatever. We tell you this does exist in status quo, and that is why putting minor criminals with major criminals is because of the fact that now we see that these people are exposed to different classes, and there's a rehabilitation that is inherently occurring when you put them together with smaller people. We tell you that now you're not putting people in the same mindset because they're going to be hyping each other up and manipulating the whole system. Secondly, under minor crimes, we tell you once the incentives sent out to society, what happens? So basically, if you're like a pickpocket or a person who steals things from houses or burglar, we tell you what's the incentive. Okay, now what they think is, okay, now it's okay, I have to feed my family, I'll go ahead and do this crime, simply because of the fact that the facilities in the third class cell is better than going to something a second class cell. We tell you that they have the ideology that they're not going to suffer as much in prison, comfortable with going back into prison because now prison is going to be a safe haven and there are going to be no victims who think that death and there are going to be more criminals. Therefore, the government is going to be failing society and therefore the government is going to be failing society largely simply because of the fact that they can't provide national security from these sort of things, and then there's going to be so much of politics happening within prisons, and that the mentality of these prisoners are not going to be development-oriented. There's not going to be any sort of theoretical resolution. And on the second, coming to my second argument, which is about diversity and hierarchy. Firstly, why is rehab more successful on our side of the house? We tell you that when these major and minor criminals are mixed together, they are exposed to like a different society, like different classes of people. We tell you that when there are like people, we tell you people who commit thefts and all, they are just people who belong to like the poor class or classes who don't really, who are facing poverty and all. They are the sort of people who do theft. They are people who have more of a guilty conscience than psychopathic people like serial killers or murderers. And the fact that they are going to be with these psychopathic people, there's going to be a fear created within them, and we tell you that the mindset of the major criminals is going to be reduced simply because of the fact that they are going to have to deal with different diversities of classes. Seeing how there's going to be a better and clean society and there are going to be less problems within the prison itself, we urge you to side with side opening opposition. Thank you.
When you all finish, switch off the mic when you keep it. Switch off the mic.
That is not the timer.
Hi, my name is Chanel. My pronouns are she, her, and I prefer AIS with a raised hand, and I'll be starting in 3, 2, 1. Honorable adjudicator and panel, note that when we come into this debate today, the first thing we see here is side opposition, my apologies, coming up here and entirely strawmanning our case, saying that, you know what, they're going to create something which is like a safe haven for prisoners. Essentially, they're coming up here and telling us, you know what, it's that they're going to create a hotel for prisoners, which is not exactly what they're telling you. What we are telling you is that there'll be different layers of punishment, different layers of the most appropriate punishment, given to the appropriate people, where there would be proper justice delivered to these criminals, unlike on their side of the house, where everybody simply gets unfair justice. To elaborate on this rebuttal here, would you punish a child who spoke out in a class, like by hitting their palms or something? We do not do that normally in status quo anyways. because this would be classified as unfair treatment. And honestly, that's quite traumatic. Where's the justice in this scenario? It's quite similar to what a person in prison goes through. For example, if you had a person who was a petty thief, who stole money from a rich man simply because he could pay for his daughter's medication fees, and you would give him the same level of punishment that you would a rapist, there is no sense of justice given to him there. Because firstly, what we should address is why the motive behind the entire crime. Given that is why in our contextualization, my first speaker came up here and mentioned things such as counseling, so on and so forth. Moving on to a second layer of analysis here. The entire idea that my apologies, moving on to a second rebuttal, the entire idea of putting psychopaths together would be not beneficial to the prison system. Honestly, Honorable Adjudicator, this is much better than psychopaths influencing other criminals who have petty offences in the prison society itself, which would be my point, which I will get to later in this debate. Moving on to a second layer of analysis here. On the entire point of the assumption that it would be a safe haven, we simply state here that this is not true, because what we are doing is we are limiting the facilities depending on the level of crime and the impact it had on the victim. We are not saying that, you know what, this is going to be a hotel-like experience and this would just simply be like, I'm going to commit a crime and go to prison just because, prison's a nice place. We are not going to make it that level of pleasant for the criminal. Simply what we are going to do is properly give out punishments as they are due. Moving on to another rebuttal, the entire point on hierarchy and how it can be a bad thing, because for some reason, the people who committed petty crimes would have fear instilled in them because they're going to be in a society with drug lords, so on and so forth. I find this quite ridiculous, Honorable Adjudicator, because the hierarchy is what leads to people getting into violence. It's what leads to prison gangs and their formation. And this is one of the main detriments of prison, because you are not learning, a crime deserves punishment. You are learning simply that you can affiliate yourself in a certain gang when you go into prison. Which now I will be moving on to my point. My entire point here is on social influence. What happens when you go to prison in our own status quo? If you have a certain amount of prisoners there, you have certain levels of people who commit a crime. You have people like trigger warning rapists, you have people like psychopaths, you have people like serial murderers, pedophiles, so on and so forth. And then you have the people who committed petty crimes, things such as stealing, things such as, stealing. So what would happen here? Is that what's going to happen is people are going to get influenced by these psychopaths. People are going to get influenced by these rapists and form their own gangs, because the only way to survive in a prison environment is to associate yourself with a certain gang for that level of security, where you would not want another gang attacking you because you are associated with this gang, and that gives you that safety net which you can fall under. We want to eliminate that, and we will with our prison system, because the formation of gangs is limited at least, because you don't have people of a higher level of crime associating themselves with people of a lower level of crime. Therefore, the entire idea of prison violence is severely limited. And before I move on after the QI, you're gonna have to come closer.
Ma'am, do you think that when some terrorists associate with each other, according to your system, that they can build terrorist organization?
Ma'am, check stuff. Check. Men understand that when we are in a prison environment, these people who go into prison for acts such as terrorism are guarded. They are kept on things such as solitary confinement. Essentially, they are locked up. But if they do associate themselves with people who aren't terrorists yet, they can influence them. They just build their brand to a higher level here. We do not want even more people getting influenced into thinking things such as terrorism and Islamophobia and stuff like that is like extreme Islam is right. Therefore, moving on to another layer of analysis here, I will be elaborating on the impact of the prisoner here. The prisoners when in the normal prison status quo aren't able to learn the difference between right from wrong. They would understand that what they did, it's justified. In status quo, what would happen is the people who go to prison in status quo, they would think that what I did here, I did not deserve this level of punishment for what I did in prison. What about the people who go for petty crimes, who get raped by other prisoners? It is simply not fair to them, and it only builds up their level of emotional trauma. It does not lead to them learning to become a functional member of society. Moving on to a second layer of analysis, the impact on society here. These people would not understand crime and punishment, and the burden here on their side is not fulfilled, because you're releasing people into society with the idea that, if I associated myself with a drug dealer, if I come in a tricky situation, now I know how to deal drugs, because you learn certain things from them. But however, on our side of the house, we stop prison violence because we don't have people like powerful mafia men forming gangs here and people associating with them, while allowing them to understand the idea of right and wrong and not be influenced, while teaching them the appropriate punishment for the level of crime they committed. And with that, I'd like to end my case.
Yes. Right. So, like I just get here. Don't need to give the mic because he can here.
Hi, I'm Netma Madhavla from HFC and I prefer she, her pronouns. If everything is cool, then yeah, I'll be taking my POI's verbally. Yeah, I will be starting in 3, 2, 1. Honorable educator and members of the House, imagine you're a failing student, right? Would you associate with worse failing students, or would you rather associate with good students where you can improve for the better, right? We tell you that the moment you go ahead and associate with these failing students again, you're going to go into a deeper hole, right? You're going to become your grades are going to go, right? And apply the same analogy to today's topic, right? We tell you that side proposition clearly doesn't know how manipulation works, right? How psychopaths work. What we need to understand today is that these psychopaths or these criminals who have committed major crimes didn't do it because they didn't have an option to. They did their choice. They did it because they yeah, right, because they are psychotic, and that they did it out of pure spite because they like it, right? Especially when it comes to serial killers and etc., right? We tell you that this is how psychopaths function, and when you put psychopaths together, what will happen is that there will be much more adverse effects, like my first speaker told you, right? I have 5 points of rebuttals for the House today. First one being how they are on their side of the case, they talk about cleaning, right? We tell you that giving a punishment like cleaning for minor crimes could be that's really absurd on their side of the case, right? How is this effective, right? What is the precedent this is setting to society, right? Especially not right now, especially when it comes to especially when it comes to deterrence, right? Like other civilians are going to be incentivized, especially like poor people or etc., are going to be incentivized to commit minor thefts because now they can come to prison and eat and like have a place to sleep at and etc., and just clean as a day job, right? And we tell you that this is extremely ineffective on their side, right? And on another level of analysis, we tell you that what, when you have this whole cleaning system or the kind of crimes, these are the examples they gave, right? So this is what we are working with, right? We tell you that what, when you give a punishment like cleaning, what will happen is that crime rates will increase, and therefore there will be more victims. And how is the government
fulfilling its role, right? Moving on to my second point of rebuttal, which is about rehabilitation, right? How they came up and said how counseling, they on their side of the case, they will give counseling and things like that for these major criminals, right? But we tell you what's the point when they are going to be with more psychopaths, when they're going to be more criminals. How is counseling going to be effective? They are just going to corrupt each other. They are just going to manipulate each other. And how is this effective in the end of the day? Right? Moving on to my third, not right now, man. Moving on to my third point of rebuttal about prison violence and prison rape, right? We tell you that how is this any better on their side, right? At least on our side, it's not adverse like that. Now you're going to have bunch of psychopaths planning on being together, planning prison violence, planning prison rapes, and we tell you that you know what, you're not only, and the moment that they get out, the moment that the normal person comes to their prison, unless like they're going to be put into like a dark room and complete isolation, we tell you that the moment that they're going to be with a normal person, like normal person is basically like dead, right? We tell you that these psychopaths can basically go that far and do something like that, especially when it comes to security guards and etc., which I will further elaborate into my argument, right? And moving on my fourth point of rebuttal about prison escapes. How is this better on their side, right? Again, you're going to have mastermind criminals associated with each other, right? Now they have a higher chance of escaping, right? Because now they have like much more ways to manipulate the system, right? Now they have much more connections. Now, especially when it comes to things like bringing drugs to prison and etc., right? Now they have much more connections. Moving on to my fifth point of rebuttal, which is about appropriate punishment happening, right? We tell you that even on our side, the case appropriate punishment will happen. It's just we are putting all of them in one prison, right? And we tell you that look, right, justice system will make sure that these people who do minor crimes will get appropriate punishment, right? Especially when it's comes to like the time they serve. Like if you pickpocket, you'll only have to serve like 3 to 6 months, right? Whereas if you murder, you will not be able to. You will have to serve your lifetime, right? Yeah. Moving on, before I move on, your view, I am.
Ma'am, do you believe that there are any goods? Okay, right into the mic. Ma'am, do you believe that there are any good students, as you put it, within the prison system that they would associate themselves with?
Yes, and like my first speaker told you, look, right, these normal people who commit crimes because they don't have a choice, like these minor crimes, we tell you that these are criminals, are a part of society, and that it's good that, you know, these psychopaths and etc. are associated with people like that, because this is almost like a mock-up of society, and they get to be with normal people, right? Because in most cases, these people who commit minor crimes aren't doing it because of spite, right? It's mostly because they don't have any choice. And also another point that they brought up was about mafia gangs. We tell you that on their side of the case, it's much worse. Just imagine taking all like the worst criminals you can possible and putting them in like a one cell. We tell you now the chances of mafia gangs being stronger and like much more dangerous is much more likely on their side of the case. Moving on to my argument, which is about prison guards. Not right now, ma'am. What we need to understand is, like I kept mentioning to you, these are manipulative people, right? We are not these criminals have committed major crimes. We tell you that that these are okay. So the POI asked from them, right, about what do they think about terrorists? Like when you put a bunch of terrorists together, they create a terrorist organization. We tell you that this is the exact same thing that will happen, and you are putting the lives of prison guards in danger. This is an actual issue that's happening to so many prison guards. Prison guards will be fearing their lives now to go inside these cells, right? Because now they could get raped, right? Now these complete innocent people could get raped. Now these complete innocent could get abused, killed, right? We tell you that it's not only you are failing as a government to protect the lives of these prison guards, but you are also putting the lives in extreme danger, right? We tell you that in the end of the day, an extremely important thing that you have to remember is the fact that as a government, we have a role to fulfill, right? It's to make sure that overall utilitarianism is created. And on their side, they can talk about giving facilities and etc. We would like to ask them where are they going to get the funds to do so, right? Because now you're going to have to create separate cells for each of these sectors, right? We tell you that on their side, the feasibility is completely less, whereas to our side of the case, we are actually we understand that there are some issues. That's why we gave you a counterfactual where we told you that
we told you that look, now there will be a check and balance system, and we tell you that now on our side of the case we understand that there's a problem, but it's much more effective compared to their side of the case where so many more problems are going to occur. With this, I will speak and ask side opening opposition.
Hi, my name. How do you want it? Okay. Hi, my name is Isra. My preferred gender pronouns are she and her. I will take a POI in the 5th minute, preferably, and I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Before I go into my rebuttals or arguments, few characterizations for this debate to understand what this debate technically is, right? Understand that we are not talking about punishment, we are talking about facilities, and this needs to be said clearly in today's debate, right? What do we mean by this, right? Overall, we are not telling you that facilities that we are giving to them are luxurious facilities or basic, or facilities that's going to give them an upper hand in prison. No, we're telling them that they are being given their designated duties and that's still going to be there, right? We tell you facilities are what we're going to define right now, right? What does facilities look like in our paradigm? We tell you like reading, recreational activity, time you spend, like the call you get for your family within a month. All those is what we tell you as facilities, right? Also the engagement with other prisoners. We tell you these are facilities that actually look like in our paradigm, right? What does these people in these cells look like? Understand, panel, that we are talking about cells, right? In the motion itself, it's stated that the factor of cells is established, right? So the factor that we have to do in our paradigm is create this separation of cells, right? Just because of the factor of cells being there, right? Because of the fact of cells being there, we tell you that you can't associate criminals from other various sectors. A person of a heinous crime cannot come and associate a person of petty crime because we are talking about cells and we're talking about the cells facilities provided within these cells, right? What does these people in these cells look like? We tell you in first class, you have people who can actually, let's say, call their family members for a month, let's say, for two times, right? And in the third class where we have people who committed heinous crimes, we tell you that they are being detached from other prisoners and they are also detached from their facility where they are connected with the outside world. This is how facilities look like in our paradigm, right? Before that, moving on to rebuttals, right? What did side opposition give you? They came out here and gave you the factor of implementing a check and balance system, right? Understand that since this house good policy, they should come and tell you how technically that they need to implement this check and balance system. But we tell you that the so-called check and balance system set by their paradigm is actually happening in our paradigm. Why? In our paradigm, a criminal mafia or a criminal hierarchy cannot be established because now you don't have one person or a person to dominate over another, right? We tell you that in our paradigm, there is not going to be a hierarchy with the factor of inferiority or superiority concept being established, right? Understand that opposition's counterculture only can be implemented if the check and balance system that is implemented through a differentiation of skills. Through differentiation, now you have the possibility of focusing your resources in a particular sector. Let's say the people of heinous crimes are very dangerous. We tell you now the guards can focus on that specific sector, creating this so-called check and balance system. So whatever they say in their side of the house is now satisfied in our side of the house and it's now our fault, right? With that being said, they came out here and they talked about the safe haven, how police operate within prisons and whatnot, right? We tell you that they didn't prove to you how this happened and they told these are impacts that in their side, they are bad, right? And these are things that these are things that are impacts and not technically why they should not really implement this system, right? Before that, we are moving on to our argument. The argument for today that we have is the idea of mindset. What do we mean by the idea of mindset? The thesis of this argument is to prove that crimes that have been committed differs either from each other, right? We tell you a sadist who committed a rape or a person who had an option of stealing a chain completely differ from their mindset. And according to their psychological thought, and with that being a factor, we tell you that because of this, they need to be separated from each other. What do we mean by this, right? In the first layer of analysis, the fact of dominance will not be implemented in the prison system. What do we mean by this? A person who committed a heinous crime is a person who committed a petty crime differs from each other through their psychological differences, right? So now, because a sadist cannot implement his ideology over another person who committed a petty crime, because now they are differentiated and separated, and they have their own selves and they are given their own facilities, right? Through this, we tell you that there are more benefits in our paradigm, right? We tell you that you cannot influence others using power now in our paradigm, right? How so? This is where the case of comparison comes over, right? In our world, we tell you that the amount of psychological thought a person went through, let's say, to commit a heinous crime now cannot be used to manipulate another person, right? Now the fact of rehabilitation, which is the motive of prison, right? Understand that the motive of prison is rehabilitation, and this can be implemented in our paradigm because manipulation does not occur, and where they can focus on themselves, right? Where these different facilities mean different spaces for people to rectify themselves. Understanding in a second level, we tell you that the justice system will be just. What do we mean by this? In our top of our analysis, we tell you the meaning the prison system will be equal and will be rightful for everyone. What does this rightful manner look like, right? Firstly, this puts the message out to society or the criminal that according to the crime you committed, you will be punished or stripped of your facilities, right? Secondly, this provision of this facility in itself signifies the extent of the effect of the crime. I'll take the QR.
Ma'am, don't you think that the hierarchy will still exist among these serial heinous criminals?
No, we don't think that the hierarchy will exist because understand that hierarchy can exist. For example, I am the head prefect of my relevant school, and then I have my prefects under me because of the fact that we work together, right? Now we are not working together, then I am an individual person in one specific cell in a different level of hierarchy. So now this differentiation divides us where we cannot interconnect with each other or interrelate with each other, where we can share ideologies, which actually make sure that any plans or mafia, whatever you call, is not implemented, right? Thirdly, continuing my argument or my analysis, this does not give the cynical gratification where now someone who committed a petty crime will not be considered the same to a person who committed a heinous crime, right? Now within the prison also, the person who committed a petty crime will not be considered the same as a person who committed a heinous crime, and this is important, right? This shows that we understand that justice under the system of law also, what we consider as equality is understanding that for the punishment you committed, you are being given that relevant facilities, right? We tell you in the third level of analysis, the idea of mindset of society. What do we mean by this? We tell you society can attain closure from this. Understand that a person who committed a mass bombing, let's say in a specific area, and a person who committed a petty crime will not have the same privileges, right? So society knows that the person who committed mass bombing is not having the same privilege. So now they're satisfied with the fact that they are punished to the relevant reason, that the extent they deserve to be punished. With all that being said, I am so proud to propose. Who do I give this to?
Hi, I'm Rushali Edrisingha from AIS. My preferred gender pronouns are she, her, and I will be starting. I will be starting my speech in 3, 2. You can hear me properly, right? Yeah, okay. I will be starting my speech in 3, 2,
1. Members of the House, before I get into my few rebuttals and my points, I will be starting off with a counterfactual that the opening opposition did not do. On our side of the House, we support more developed prison systems, bettering the quality of prisons instead of separating factions as a whole and separating the prisoners as a whole, which I'll be explaining as to why in my speech. The distinctions we make on our side of the House versus the opening opposition is that on our side of the House, we will be providing more analysis about deterrence, reformation, and motivation, and exploring the themes of corruption. To reframe the debate, we will be bringing attention to the benefits of current status quo and the reformations that it brings forth. Before I move on to my arguments, I will be starting my rebuttals, right? Side proposition talked about how terrorists can indoctrinate people that have done petty crimes, and they'll go out into the world and believe in all these indoctrinated values, right? But on our side of the House, we don't really care about that. That is not something important to us. What is important to us is whether or not these petty criminals commit these crimes again. On our side of the House, as I told you why deterrence is stronger, these petty criminals, regardless of their indoctrination, are less likely to commit crimes afterwards supported by their terrorist ideologies. So it is simply not a factor in our side of the House because deterrence is stronger. Opposition also said that they will be providing less facilities to people, severe criminals, and more facilities to petty criminals. But on our side, we argue that the distinction itself made was very poor. And if they committed worse crimes, does that not indicate that they are the ones that need more resources? Side proposition called them psychopaths, sadists. And in that case, I argue that they are the ones that need more resources. They are the ones that need better therapy. They are the ones that need to be looked after. They are the ones that need to be observed. And proposition is completely disregarding their mental state in this argument, right? If you're going to speak about crimes out of necessity, petty criminals that committed crimes because they have to feed their family, they have to support their family, then as side government, it is your responsibility to rectify that before you speak on this. Because then people are going to jail for whatever reason, whatever their experience in jail is undeserved because it was a crime out of necessity. And on their side of the House, the government has failed anyway because people in poverty are being forced to commit crimes instead of having the resources provided to them by the government, right? The existence of mixed prisons increases deterrence simply because it is a bad place. Jails are scary, they are demonized, they are awful places, you are treated badly, and it is simply very scary to be there. And that motivates the criminals to reform themselves so they no longer have to be there, to be on better behavior so that they have a better chance of getting parole so they don't have to be there any longer. And it also increases deterrence in the first place because the more demonized and evil the jail itself seems, the less likely criminals are in the first place going to commit crimes. But even in the case of necessary crimes, that is a problem that the side government has completely failed on, because it is your job to make sure necessary crimes aren't even a factor, because that means criminals are facing sentences that they simply do not deserve because they're not real criminals, right? If criminals are given special treatment, they're more likely to commit these crimes simply because of, oh, it's a great place. They're providing me with a bed, with free food, and if my life outside, because the government has failed me so bad, because I'm living in poverty, why not instead commit petty crimes so that I can be completely taken care of, right? When they get out of jail, and on a different side, if petty criminals get out of jail, then they're completely free to reap the benefits of their crimes without facing any awful experiences or any awful experiences from the result of their stint in jail. Before we move on.
On your side, what's more probable, a psychopath influencing a thief or a thief influencing a psychopath?
Like I said in my first argument, that doesn't matter anyway, because deterrence is strong on our side of the house. The thief influenced by the psychopath is less likely to commit psychotic actions. I don't even know how a psychopath would influence a thief in the first place, because if more criminal information is available in jail, why are you likely to take information from a person that has been caught, that has failed at committing these crimes themselves? What gives them this credibility of, oh, they know how to do things, I should believe what they say, right? People are more likely to commit crimes because, oh, if the government has failed at their responsibility of taking care of me, I should just go to jail. I'll be treated nicely. If I commit only a petty crime, they're more likely to take advantage of the system if they have poor life quality. With the responsibility of the government, once again, is to prove that crimes out of necessity are not happening, because otherwise you are punishing people that simply do not deserve this punishment. On proposition side, sympathy for ex-convicts is extremely less, because if an ex-convict committed a petty crime, they got a very light sentence. It was extremely comfortable for them, and people feel no sympathy. It is because of that sympathy, because of the fear of jail, that that deterrence is more on our side of the house, right? If side proposition somehow does this properly, somehow make sure that bad criminals are in one side, less severe crimes on a different side, how are they going to do this? The legal system is already stretched thin on their resources. Side proposition, even though this House good motion, has not proved to us once how they would actually do this. The legal system's resources are simply non-existent at this point. So how making baseline distinctions of murder is a severe crime, theft is a petty crime, they deserve different treatments. But what if this theft caused a family to lose their jobs? It ended their family business, they're now all in poverty. Side proposition has absolutely not explored any of these themes and not touched on how they would treat these, right? If you have to treat all of these crimes into a case-by-case basis, how they would make this distinction is absolutely unfair. The reason jails have all criminals is because they all show disrespect towards the law. And the special treatment provided removes authority from the government completely, because if they're treating criminals on a case-by-case basis with special treatment, the criminals are going to lose all respect for the law. Why is the government hush? I don't care, they're treating me nicely, I don't really care about the law anymore, and thus all respect for the law is lost. On my point in deterrence, it increases criminals to see the government as an authority figure and to respect them and to have fear of illegal actions, right? People with more socio-political influence can get their second level crimes treated as first level crimes or even eradicated. At least on our side of the house, when people with socio-political influence commit severe crimes and they aren't in jail, it is easier to make that distinction. This person committed a crime, they're not in jail. They must be using all of their power to their advantage. But on side proposition, if these people commit second level crimes but use their social political influence and they aren't punished, it's far harder to make the distinction. People are more likely to abuse their power. And for all these reasons, I urge you to oppose.
Hi everyone, my name is Safa. I'll be the government member in this debate. With that being said, I'll be allocating a different time to POIs, in which I will be addressing the POIs. With that being said, I'll begin my speech. In 3, 2, 1. Honorable panel, members of the House, 3 things to be proven by side closing government in order to win this debate. Number 1, if we prove to you in our side of the House that the crime rates are still reducing, we win this debate. Secondly, if we prove to you that the prison system is much more organized and the motive of the prison system is satisfied within our side of the House, we win this debate. Thirdly, if you tell you that the prison system now holds just within the existence of this policy, we will distribute. Okay, before I move on to the flashes of this House, a few points of importance to be known. Understanding that some opening opposition had this entire argument and entire case based on the fact of status quo, where they tell you now they won't be allocating facilities or whatnot. They're just telling you how they will be increasing the amount of punishment that's given. Understand that the amount of punishment is not what is to be dealt with in this debate. The question that lies within this debate is to whether facilitate these particular needs that we are talking about or not. We're not talking about this particular punishment that has to be changed regardless of whatever that they say. Understand, right? Points of rebuttal to be noted. Firstly, even though that they tell you that they will be increasing security in the prison system, or they will be increasing the punishment that is given, which is not practical, because we see that happening under the state's rule. Regardless of this existence, we still see prison riots taking place. Where, for an example, as OG mentioned, right, how prison rage taking place within the system, regardless of whatever the existence that they talk about, right? These are the points that we tell you need to be taken into consideration within this debate, right? Moving on to the second point of rebuttal of side opening, side closing opposition. Closing opposition's entire premise of argument was this entire case where they tell you they will be bettering the quality of prisoners, and in which they tell you our side of the house basically is based in resources. But understand, it is when you tell me that bettering the quality of prisons is what requires resources. We tell you in our speech as closing government is not clearly mentioned that there is no such amount of expenditure that the government has to deal with, right? Because we're talking about differentiating these cells, right? These cells are already separated from one another. What we have to do is allocating these prisons into these different blocks, right? That can be done easily, and that does not require this amount of resources that closing opposition kept on harping about. Moving on, I'll directly move on to this. With that being said, I believe both the premise of side opening opposition and closing opposition is dead. Yes.
It is only that the cells are differentiated. How are you going to stop interactions between minor and major criminals?
Can understand the entire case of this debate of the word of closing opposition is basically harm and illegal, right? This differentiating is what will promote this particular amount of crime. Not that telling me that because of this differentiating existing in outside the house, the possibility of this highest crime, the people who committed highest crime, interacting with those who committed petty crimes and influencing them to do a particular amount of highest crime, which is the point of manipulation, which that is I'll get on to my flash, which will be addressed in my flash points. Right, that point exists. The process of manipulation exists in that side of the house. Let's explain that in my flash point. What are the flash points that I have for the house? I have three main flash points for the house. Number one, the idea of manipulation. Secondly, the difference in system. And thirdly, the difference of hierarchy, where superiority and inferiority come in. Okay, moving on to the first flash point for the house, manipulation. Side opposition tells us manipulation happens when you divide these classes, they all put the same group of people into one particular group. Can I understand? This is where they come up and tell you that these psychological pillars who possess this very good mentality, very good amount of level of psychology, will get together and come and tell you they will create a terrorist network. Can I understand? Terrorist networking in reality happens when a person who is highly manipulative comes and goes and talks to a person who is an innocent, who is just a person. That is how terrorist networking works. How exactly? We see a particular person who has committed heinous crime, right? We see a murderer, right? The moment you tell me the murderer and a person who stole a bed is kept in one prison, the moment you tell me that is happening, that is when this terrorist networking is much more likely to happen, because we understand under the status quo, right? The vast or the growth of terrorists now. The growth of terrorist networking itself is depending on this factor of where these highly recognized or highly manipulated people manipulate those who are less likely to be who have who possess this sort of mindset to sort of get this exposure, right? Now why that is more better, why that is not happening in outside the house? Understand the moment you do the particular set of people like people like terrorists together, right? There is going to be a debate on who is the best. There is going to be basically a clash of ideas, because now what you're dealing with all these people with different levels of psychology, right? I understand with that particular class that exists in their paradigm, there is no much the possibility of them forming a terrorist organization is much less, right? With that, moving on to the second class of the house, that is the difference of hierarchy. But I understand they tell you that division promotes, with that you said you second that division promotes superiority complex and inferiority complex. But I understand that happens, that does not happen within outside the house meetings. That does not happen within outside the house, right? Because we tell you inclusion is what promotes superiority and inferiority. How is that? Understand when you put a person who has committed a minus crime and a person who stole a bed in one prison, okay, this particular person who committed a minus crime is able to go and tell this person who stole the bed, right? That you know what, I committed a better crime than you. I am far more powerful and I have this, I possess this amount of guts within myself to tell you that I have committed a better crime, so I am a stronger person than you are as of now, right? With that being said, moving on to final dash in the house, that is why the difference in system. I remember to you within the opening of this debate, it said how exactly closing government state. Closing government provides a much more better case within this debate, in which we address the question that lies within the debate, that is whether these facilities are good or bad. That is addressed by closing government. With that being said, moving on to why CG stands for the very answering of that particular question that we made in this debate, and the fact that how CG came and addressed these issues like terrorism, networking, etc., in our side of the house, and how exactly we tell you that government does hold some sort of accountability, which is seen in our side of the house only when these people who committed petty crimes are given a certain amount of greater facility than the ones who committed AIS. With that being said, proud to propose. Thank you.
Just a small announcement, we have got the beginning sample, straight here, presently basis occasion. So Father will also be joining the audience to look at this kind of video.
Does this work?
Hello? Okay.
My name is Lahara Adar-Singha. My preferred pronouns are she, her. She, her. Honorable adjudicator and members of the House, what we've seen from the proposition today is that they have provided absolutely no mechanisms for deterrence, and therefore, on their side of the House, crime rates will inevitably increase. Today, I have 3 points of fact: 1 on deterrence, 2 on reformation, and 3 on minor major criminal interaction. Now, firstly, on our point of deterrence, we told you that one of the big mechanisms we have of deterrence is that people don't, if you are going to commit, one of the big deterrences we have on our side of the house is that you do not want to be in the same room as a rapist. You do not want to be in the same room as a child molester. You do not want to be in the same room, and it's scary, and you don't want to be that. That is one of the big deterrent factors. That is one of the big things that adds fear to. I don't want to do this because I might have to be in the same room as someone who has committed murder, and that is a very, very scary reality, which serves as deterrent. And there's more fear on our side in committing crime itself, which doesn't exist on their side of the house. They have provided no mechanisms on their side of the house. So we tell you that this is especially true to petty crimes, because we understand that for petty crimes, the sentencing is already short. So if the sentencing is already short and the experience they have on that side of the house isn't that bad, if it doesn't create fear, if it doesn't create fear in them, and if they do, they think, oh, I can bear this again, there is going to be no deterrent factor because this is their one pressure point, because the sentences themselves are not long. No, thank you. So this is the only condition, and this is the only pressure point that exists on our side of the house, which is removed on that side of the house, and that's why it's bad. No, thank you. And we told you that, and they came out here and they said that petty crimes will exist anyways. Obviously, petty crimes will always exist, but on our side of the house, we have less people committing petty crimes. That is the entire point. And now moving on into my second, no, thank you. Moving on into my second point of facts for today, which is reformation. Now we told you that the state has a duty to ensure reformation of first and second level criminals as well. They need to be held accountable. When even if it is a lesser crime, they still have demonstrated that they do not have respect for the law. And if we remove and if we have this differentiation, we remove authority from the law. Because there will be a development of thinking that as long as I commit petty crimes, it's okay because the law won't hold me as accountable, and the law isn't going to the law isn't going to hold me accountable to the fullest extent, so I am not scared. No, I will touch your reply.
Why was your side's counterfactual better quality of life in prisons when you yourself criticize having appropriate levels of facilities on our side?
Now, we said that, now one of the main benefactors that you had on your side was that there will be better mental health care systems and rehabilitation systems, which we said that we would have on our side as well. We obviously want there to be better mental health care in prisons and better rehabilitation in prisons. But on your side, you said that you would provide more facilities to the people that committed lesser crimes and less facilities to the people that committed higher crimes. And we think that this isn't something that we should do, because obviously the people that have committed higher crimes need more reformation, need more facilities. So giving them less facilities makes no sense on your side of the house. No, thank you. And then moving on to my point about motivation. Now, criminals are more motivated to perform because they now strive for good behavior, because they do not want to be in these places anymore. And also, on a second level, they feel ashamed of being grouped in with the same people that committed these horrible crimes such as rape. They feel ashamed that their minor offense has been grouped into that same collection of people. They feel that shame and they feel that guilt and they feel that need to repent more. No, thank you. So we see that there is more motivation to actually get out of prison. And people feel the need to reform themselves more on our side of the house. And they said that this is unfair because it's unfair to the people that have committed minor offenses. But we say that on our side of the house, it is still fair because they have clearly shown that they will not abide by the law. And we told you also that this doesn't really, one of the factors that isn't really a big part of the debate is that it's crimes that were committed out of necessity. Because if people, no, thank you. If people are being forced to the point of stealing because they don't have money, that is the problem that the government should solve. The solution is not just making prison sentences, prison condition, is not separating these cells out. That is not the solution to helping these crimes that were committed out of necessity. And then, no, thank you. And my third point of fact for today will be on minor and major criminal interactions. Now, a big problem was that they'll letting them interact will like say a minor criminal will now know how to deal drugs. Now, the existence of the current system itself serves as deterrent. That is something that we established to you. So if you serve a sentence for a petty crime and it was not an experience that you could bear again, you're not going to come and become a drug dealer because the risk is higher when you're dealing drugs, and you don't want to end up in that same situation. And also, you got all of your information on dealing drugs from someone who failed and got caught. So you're not going to think that the information is reliable in the first place. And now on your side of the house, because there is this differentiation in treatment, there is going to be greater hostility towards the people who have committed minor offenses from the people that have committed the major offenses. And now they said that there's no expenditure on their side of the house. I don't know how this is factual, because for this to work, they have to build different buildings. But if there's no expenditure, we can assume that they aren't building different buildings. And in that case, it is likely that they'll still interact with one another. And given that there's a chance of them interacting, the hostility toward these people who have committed lesser crimes is more, and therefore they will be attacked more on their side of the house than on our side of the house. And for all those reasons, please side with the opposition today. Thank you.
All right, so thank you so much for coming. The winner of Next Level 2.0 2022 Muslim Ladies College. Congratulations. So, second place was given to AIS, third place was given to GCC, fourth place was to HFC. Congratulations. Yeah, winning captain.
So I don't know. I'm very happy. Like, I have never won a competition or anything. But
Don't lie.
okay. The reason I'm here is because of everyone who loves me. Like, thanks to Kim Hansa, I met him in Next Level last year. And to be here and win this tournament this day is like, it's a big improvement, and all because of him. Because if we never found him, then we are never here. And then I have to thank Akilaki and Dinukaya after Gimansar, like the people who pushed us to go improve, be a better person, how to debate, what not, right? They've always been there. So I love them so much. Thank you. And I have to thank my school teacher for supporting us. And at the end of the day, I have to thank CIS. The people in it are amazing. They are always filled with love, and they always support us no matter what. And they show us like what's entirely wrong with our speech or what's not, and how we have to improve. Yeah, who always tell you to climb a lot of achieve a lot, but this place is like that. So yeah. And at the end of the day, I have to thank St. Peter's because they're good team, and they always support us. But before I wrap it up, finally my team, because of them I am here, and I love them so much. They are the most supportive. Safa. So then they decided to line up for this tournament, and I said, I am not going unless you put me with Safa. Because that much we have that trust, that bond, and every point where I debate with her, I'm always happy. And the other people, Rukia, Samia, Sadika, they are the most amazing, the most talented, the most loving, supportive team. MLC is the best. And at the end, thank you for all the other contestants.
you all were amazing. Because of you all, we had great competition. Even if we won the tournament, the fact that we all came and I feel like the fact that we all improved in this tournament, I think that needs to be acknowledged.
So this is the reminder fact about CIDS. So for those who don't know, CIDS stands for Colombo Independent Debater Society, right? It's a space we get together and we debate, right? We work together, right? It's an open space. So for any of you guys, right? On CIDS, that means Sunday we have Zoom sessions, we just practice together, right? We get together, we practice together. Our coaches get together and like we swap teams, like you get to debate with other people in other schools, right? So you guys, any of you, it's an open space, right? Any of you all want to come work with us, join with us? It's completely free. We don't charge money, right? Just come work with us. Right. So we'll hear from the runners-up also, HFC. By the way, round of applause for the last year's champions. Yeah, all are.
Hi everyone, actually we are not the winners. Last week was Danny Danki and Shania. Shout out to them.
And also, we had great competitors, AIS. Congratulations to MLC and you guys too. It was a good debate and a good experience.
Also, shout out to AIS. We went up against them 6 times and yeah, it was great. We basically know each other at this point.
Overall, a great experience and thanks to everyone here today.
Thank you, HFC. Nice. Gateway College.
Rishi and Yashore for being the most supportive and vocal members in the audience. Thank you. And Meghna and Nintara for always being there, and Nintara for playing devil's advocate 24/7. Helps us get better a lot. Meghna for always being like that silent support. We always could count on you every time we needed you. Silent and loud. So Gimhan, we met 2-3 weeks ago, and from where we are, from a novice team, you managed to pull us into the finals, which was a shock to all of us. So I honestly, the day we met you, I think was a lifesaver for us. So thank you so much, because we couldn't have gotten there with that. And to you, my slave queen, you've been with me for a year now, and I wouldn't choose any other member over you. So I'm very, very, very happy with you.
Okay, AIS.
This tournament was really fun. Tahara and I learned so much. And even though none of our AIS teammates are here right now, they're cheering us on the other side of the court. Right. Are they? So much faith in our AIS. Yes, okay. That's probably on this as well. But other than that, Tahara is the best. I've never argued with her. We had time to do POIs, rebuttals, and flashpoints in every prep time, even for WSBC preps. So obviously, she's perfect. I really love you, even though I've known you for like 1.5 months. But yeah, you're an amazing prep partner, and you're the reason we came here.
And you too, Charlie.
Personal? Oh, okay.
All right. So just a few words about debating altogether. Now, first of all, I have to thank all the teams for coming. The official vote of thanks will be done by Captain Vishnu there, right? And our Vice Captain Sasindu. Sasindu, you all know him as Wolfie, but his actual name is Sasindu. People think his real name is Wolfie. His real name is Sasindu. Okay, right. So this is not your official vote of thanks. I just want to say a few words, right? I enjoy organizing debate tournaments. I enjoy teaching young children, right? Pretty much my profession. I am a lawyer in profession, yes, but I love being a teacher. I teach political science and I teach debating. So first of all, I have to thank all the schools for coming, and I have to thank all the other members of CIDS and the coaches in CIDS. Also, I have to thank all the schools outside CIDS, like the Debaters Council at DC and everyone who are members there. I personally know your coach. David is one of my good friends. I personally don't know your coach, but I heard, she made sure your team won last year also, right? So I heard, and also all the DC schools, all the DC coaches who sent their teams here. One thing is that it's because the Debaters Council handles all the WSD matters in Sri Lanka. They are doing a quite impressive job, right? Which has given us the freedom for CIDS to try something different and give you all a different experience, like try something like BP and all these different styles, because DC does the educational academic side of WSDC. Since they handle all the standard work, it has given me the freedom to try something new, and they are very supportive in everything I do. I normally am an educator in DC tournaments as well. You all must have met me there as well, right? So hoping to work together with DC and all the school circuit, right? Hoping to have a bigger next level tournament next year. Hoping to organize more tournaments as well. Right, so thank you so much for coming, and the official vote of thanks shall be delivered. Where is Vishnu? Would you ask Vishnu to come? Ask him to come stay here for the vote of thanks. Right? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so we will give the certificates to the finalists now, right? For that, I would like to invite our chief guest, Mrs. Shemati Durvila. I would like to remain on stage to announce the names to keep some male representation, because the chief guest and all the participants are ladies, right? Okay. Right, okay. So first, start with the runners-up. Right, first, AIS.
Lehara Edition and Roshali Edition. Netma Madadala of HFC, Police and Government. Shasha Sampras of Police and Government. Methuli Gamage of Gateway College. And Shannon India of Gateway College. Now the champions. Safa Rizal of Muslim Ladies College. Finally, Isra Muslim of Muslim Ladies College.